Okay, so welcome to to another of the revised edition. So now this is the part two of the revised edition for chapter one. So we say so I'm giving ChatGPT this prompt that I am carrying out a research academic project on this topic which you did in Nigeria, and I have identified uh, uh, identified this as a gap as a research these codes as a research gap. Okay. Use this to track strong research and to track brief strong research statement of failure. Okay. Now, so we have this. Then we would say, um, in respect to the research gap, what are what are the variables to measure the objectives you can see, and somehow we are namely the need to refine the regulatory to measure and manage the activity. The variable should capture both strategic innovation dimension and sustainable and while reflect the organization innovation capacity. So you can see somehow the in fact it's just as if it's copy the variable that we use in in the chapter one. So somehow we are still in line, right? And I didn't carry out research on identifying the research gap earlier. I just picked them, right? And as you can see, it's you know products and service innovation, product differentials frequency, then adoption, you know, then dependent on market share growth. The exam, so based on the research, this is the because of innovation assessment framework, you may introduce relative variable innovation capacity assessment, idea generation capacity, innovation implement, innovation management. This will allow you to contribute to vision. So, this will allow you to contribute to literature by examining not only whether to innovation influence movement, but also whether an existing ability to assess and manage innovation capacity strengthen their that relationship. Now, our study, what we did earlier, is not built on uh, assessment framework for strategic innovation and competitive advantage, but instead it is built on examining the effect of this variable against each other, the variable that is highlighted here, the independent and dependent variable, so that we can still go ahead with it and another study can now pick it, another researcher can now pick that study and say he or she want to now do the assessment, which is what we are getting here. So now saying that those based on the research gap, this would alignment with your objectives, evaluate the effective results. Okay, sorry that I'm yawning. See, so this has further helped us. In fact, the objective has been created because yeah, these are the objectives. Though I'm suspecting that ChatGPT, because we already have a chat in that regard, so it's still referencing it. So this is our objectives right here. These are variables right here. Access our processing. So basically, but all that I can identify is that we are still in line. So this is the revised approach to getting your chapter one. So after you have identified your research gap, the way I prompt it to um, to measure variable to measure the objective of the study, or let me reprompt it and say in response to the research gap, okay, let's say formulate. So let's see what we'll get. Okay, so let's wait for the result to come out. Okay, so I observed that the ChatGPT, you know, having um, was working on the objective that we had before because, like I said, the AI system has a way of, working on whatever it is. When any similar, this if you thought maybe you are still continuing with it, that's why me creating a new chart is still proceed to thinking that we are still trying to work on the same objective. So then I prompt it again to say it should actually use the research gap to draft or to formulate the research objective to close the gap. And we have the objectives here to develop innovation assessment framework. So, I mean, this now it can now result to high level of research academic project, maybe PhD, PhD, yeah. So they are the one that will have time to check all of this, to examine the reliability and validity of the proposed innovation assessment framework within Nigeria organization. So they will be, because it will require, proper this thing to have this one now this is now actually building something. So assess relationship between innovation capability, dimension, and indicator of sustainable competitive advantage. So it's not to say it cannot be done for a master's project, but we would have to reduce the something. And I mean, one of the limitations of research is that researcher always has bias. And for master's purpose in school where you are faced with limited time to finish your time or undergraduate, you can choose, you have the liberty to choose what is best for you, except otherwise stated by your supervisor. Because your supervisor might say no, do it in this way. So because and it's nothing hard, it's not that it's hard, it's not hard at all. It's not hard. You can actually change. Now this is where you see that two person can be working on a project and the direction they are going, the same project topic, but their direction is different. So we can be two different individuals working on the same topic, and this person is working on this, while we are working on testing the variable against each other. And this one is working on building a framework, assessment framework around, the innovation and sustainable competitive advantage, which enables to, not just implement but to also evaluate and monitor. And you will see that all the objectives are in that regard, saying to assess the relationship between innovation capability dimension and indicator of sustainable competitive advantage. So this innovation capacity dimension, we have to do with the idea generation, product development, market penetration, and what have you. So the innovation capacity dimension is what this number 4 here now, that this thing capture as a goal is what it has been broken down in chapter 1 that we did. So this now is a breaking down by mentioning that, but look at how it encapsulates it here. And as it is now, it's a very big thing because all these things are they are mighty something. So that's why I say going by this, it should not be a, but I don't want to show you for educational purpose, right? So now that we've have it in this way, the best to now do to the next thing to do is just to pick your objectives, use it to formulate your just the same way. The only difference is what I have done. So just use it to write your statement of problem, then use the objective to form your question, your hypothesis, then download the journals, then prompt it by incorporating your objective into it as we have prompted that one. Just the same workflow. So the only difference is just this that we have done for educational purpose, and for those that will be watching these recordings or training, and maybe their level is far beyond undergraduate or master's project, let's say PhD project, because this is very good, for a PhD kind of project. But we are not going into that dimension. So in next video we then move to chapter 2 and we'll talk about how chapter 1 link to chapter 2. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.